Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning for me. I don't know when this video is coming up. I got some new parts for the Kyosho Fazer D2, and I'm going to share them with you. And I think I only got one more mod left. With some beer cans out of here from yesterday. Conveniently, I already have the body off, so I don't have to struggle with that or put my phone down or anything. This thing's been phenomenal, and for the first time, that would have been a cool video to do also, was we got F and Chet and I basically an alignment set up here that comes with some wrenches I found on Amazon. It was quite expensive, but we split the cost. It was like $50. And there's a lot of them out there, and they are expensive, and this was on the cheaper side and still had the quality and did what we needed to do. So after everything's been done and testing and tuning and messing with suspension, like every day I mess with this thing, drive it a couple times, adjust something, but it needed an alignment. I wanted to wait till Chet was here. He did his while he changed out the little hub on his, I don't even know if it's here. I think it's the Traxxas drift car. It comes with extra hubs to give him 90-degree steering versus like the 60. So he did that, and then he threw his car on the alignment. I'm not going to call it a machine, but the setup. And then I know from switching out all this stuff around that mine needed it. And again, depending on how much camber, cast, or toe that you have on here, and ignore the wheels because they've been moved from vehicles, and you can see that it was wearing more on one tire before I did the setup versus the other. So it was like the toe, I think we've got it around 2.5, 3 degrees. I forget. So it's very minimal. My camber, I believe, is at 5 or 6. And then caster, I know I changed just a tiny bit. So it's very minimal on this car. But what really changed this thing driving for me, I mean, like night and day difference, was changing it over to brushless. I went with, I found it on RC Juice. I got it, I don't know, under a week. Brushless. It is a censored, somewhere in there. There's censored right there by my thumb. Setup that I found very easy to do. The only thing I had to do was solder on the new plug that came off of the old ESC. Wire management. I left this a little long just in case to go to the battery. I can technically swap sides if I wanted to. Zip tied everything. I used the original plate that was on the back of this thing to hold it, and I used my fancy drone RC like grip lock Velcro, so if something were to break, it's not glued down. I could just unpop it and it's secure. I used the softer Velcro right here, so this thing could pop off need be for the capacitors, so nothing is set in stone, nothing wiggles, comes off, and has worked very well so far. Again, wire management, not much you could do. I didn't want to add weight and wire loom and do all that. I just kept it simple, allowed it to have a little bit of flex. There's your sensor wire. There's not much to it. I wish these wires weren't such an ugly color or black to hide it. And then I think that's it here. So your wires for the motor, your sensor plug, which definitely I recommend going censored, even though that's not, and that thing is amazing. And I finally have gotten the time to drift and tune it a little more, and we'll talk about that some other time. But I got the suspension finally. Let me take it off the little rack here. Look at, let's see if I can do this. This thing is plush. It'll still bottom out if I push down on it, but the weight of the body and driving and stuff, it does not. It is very movable, soft. I'm running the Yeah Racing Go Big Bore, Big Bore Go, whatever they are. But after a bunch of testing and tuning, and again, I may have tires that are too hard for this surface, and I'll never know until I get on a real track and try. So I'm gonna mess with different tire stuff. But I went to the factory springs that came on this car originally that gave me a lot more travel. These shocks, the whole body itself is a touch shorter than the original which I kind of don't like because that had a lot more movement and stuff, but I don't need full body movement, even though I like it. But it gives me more than enough, and I can see a little bit of weight transfer when driving, and it's nice and soft, so it's not super responsive, and the ass end wants to kick out. I use the red set, which is the softest of the sets that came with this spring set here in combo. I wanted to use the Yokomo, the little bladder that goes inside here, but they kept leaking. So I ended up having a set of black ones, which I forgot where I got them. I'll have to look and see if we're here, right? Let's see here. Let's see if I saved them. This used to be filled with all drone stuff, and now it's all car stuff. So I don't have them. But the little blue bladders, I think they're Yokomo. I could be wrong. But I ordered these because everybody in the world recommended these over, I believe it was the stock ones. Pistons, right? So here are extras. So I went back to these. And I've had not one problem. It feels like the top that screws down fits better inside there. And there's more. I got extras down there too. And once I got the air out and sealed them up, they seem to have worked a lot better. So you got a nice but short, very soft, a little bit of movement. I know it's kind of tough to gauge here. It just moves just a little bit and it stays in place. It doesn't bottom out. I get the look I want with, being just slightly tucked. One funny thing that I noticed is a video I did a while ago. I took, if you see here, there's these little add-ons that go on to the shaft. And before it used to have a little nipple on the top, and that is what would go through the body, and then you'd pin it. And it was a concave surface, so I had cut that off and put the magnet, which is also reverse concave, onto there. And then it gave me a little bit of adjustability based on how I wanted the car to sit, if it was too low, because you want your suspension to be where you want it. And then I should have done this before, and then pick your body, leaving them taller for room for adjustment. But I got it after trial and error to where I needed to be, with still, I believe, a 3-hole adjustment here. And then these guys are perfect. You can just drop them down as far as you want to go and get the ride height that you want in that stance, if it's just sitting or you're actually using it and being functional. But there are 2 different styles. There was a front and a rear, and I didn't realize I had one that was a front and that was a rear, which meant a little bit of height difference, because the body always seemed to sit weird to me, being OCD, and noticing that one side was different than the other. And I found out by accident and ended up having to swap out and add a new Gorilla magnet to it. Now the car sits completely flat, flush, perfect. Everything is in unison and happy. So I did. I wish I had the gears set off here. Let me flip it back around. So I put the cover back on here just for quietness. It is a little bit quieter with it off, but with the now timing adjustability and kind of like a turbo boost, I kind of don't like that term because there's nothing to do with turbo. It does have a boost, kind of like a turbo with spool, but there is no any of that. It's all electronic. It's a motor and timing. But the gears make a lot of noise, the stock plastic gears, when you get in that high RPM. Part of the reason I went brushless, to go back a little bit, was because you got a lot of cogging on the factory brushed motor, and the fact that this thing drifts really amazing in a very, very low RPM. So you're barely into the throttle, and it was right at that point where it would kind of engage the motor and disengage. So you'd be in a perfect drift, or you tried to transition to left versus right or whatever, and it would actually stop because you were so finely right on the beginning of that throttle. This here, you don't get that, and that is all adjustable through your little card that you have here. So you can adjust how quickly it boosts, how quickly it will engage, how hard it will engage to your driving style, and there's all kinds of settings. And I was going to bring out the card, but I think it's in the toolbox that I moved here. Yeah, it's right here. So you got a couple different settings, and of course, for me being new, it was very intimidating, very nerve-wracking, but I looked it up on the YouTube, and there was a young man that had gone through the whole setup, the programming of this thing, and then showed his settings, what he did. And here I started with his, adjusted slightly, but here is your motor timing and all that stuff for your censored. And then it'll show all of that stuff, and then you basically click on this button that will bring you down to the different categories. It flashes, everything's lit up, and it brings it to that one. And when it starts flashing, you hold this down on, let's just say we're on drag brake, and it will move, depending on what it is, it'll move just between the lights, or if it's here and then in between is both, and then it'll switch over. So it has a decent amount of adjustability. And then when you're done, while it's plugged in, you shut the ESC motor, all that stuff off, unplug this guy, and that's it. Then you're programmed. So it gives you room to customize to the way that you're going to drive, and I found that very easy. The motor swap out for this, 5-6 minutes, 2 screws for the cap, 2 screws for the motor. I unzip tied all the factory stuff, and it took more time just trying to figure out which way I wanted to mount this, and then put it all back together and mesh the gears together. But because the gears are so loud, I'm going to switch over and do metal gears, or aluminum, metal, same thing. The hobby shop I have near me has a part of what I need. I'm hoping they have the pinion gear. It's a 24 tooth pinion gear. I ordered the Yokomo set for the spur gear, and the shop near me has the little conversion to hold the gear, over. The factory one's a proprietary 84 tooth, 48 pitch or something gear, but you can't just swap that out and put one on. You have to get a traditional, what all guys use, and then there's like a hub that goes onto that mounts it to here. And that should make this thing perfect. I've not seen any of the shortcomings, at least for my skill level, and I'd like to think I've advanced pretty well and gotten this down really well. The gyro has not really been a shortcoming for me. I have not noticed any issues with the servo or too slow, and the controller, wherever the hell I put it, all the way over here, of course. Why I really like this controller is you can adjust the rates to make the steering more responsive or slow down. If your surface is really slippery and you're braking traction way too easy and you don't need all that throttle, you can just turn this down, and it minimizes how much throttle in the top end you get to help cater to your surface. You got your trims and all that stuff. Really like this controller, to be honest, and I've kind of wanted to do a review based on the Fazer versus the MST RMX 2.5. I hate this controller, and I was like, I want to put a receiver in here, but I don't think I can have multi-cars off of that, and I don't got $1 million for that Noble controller. But this would be a great conversation between comfort, adjustability, basic bitch. Even just the strength of this, how it snaps back, it does not feel as comfortable, where there's not as much tension, but obviously just a little cushion here makes the world of difference. So I may do a separate video in comparing the cars, where they are from scratch, stock to modified, for what little I've done to both of them. And then, like I said, this is huge. So, I mean, if you have the extra money to upgrade your receiver and get a controller, throw that thing against the wall, or in my case, bring it to the range, get rid of it. It's just not, it's not fun at all. Not intuitive. Like, you see this, and there's explanations. It's not really intuitive at all. It doesn't feel good in the hand. But I'll leave that for another day. So once the hobby shop opens this morning here, I'm gonna run over and see if I can pick up the hub to hold this, because I got a couple days before the Yokomo spur gear would get here, and see if I can find a new pinion, and then see how that works. I know they have a set for the internal gears and stuff, but I don't think I need to go that far. And then I may mess with the timing just a little bit more to see, how things will change and make it better, because depending on the track and stuff like that, you might want more boost versus less. But this is the way to go. And if you have one of these for batteries, I didn't talk about this before because it's buried, but I've got the Ovanix 5000 milliamp. They call them shorty batteries, and they fit. You can see just a portion of it fit perfectly inside here, and it holds it right in place. And obviously you can have it come out of either side. and they fit both cars perfectly. So I got one in each. But that's enough ranting. I got to go finish editing and then get ready to go for a ride. So let me know what you think. Into the RC stuff, the drifting is quite addictive. And I can't get enough. This guy, I haven't shown this guy in quite a while. But I was drifting it last night. I let one of my fellow gun club buddies, Ramrod, try this thing for the first time. And it's funny to see somebody that's never done RC stuff, never done car stuff, and then try to learn the controller, the left and right, remembering all that, and then understanding. He didn't realize the gyro. He was like, something's fighting me the whole time. He didn't understand that the gyro was trying to make him a better driver, and he was fighting that. And then once he kind of clicked with it, he started drifting better. I moved a lot of stuff down along the basement here. All these shelves that have been here as long as I've been alive, pretty much. I've had stuff to repair the house. A lot of it is obsolete. There was a whole thing of old, like, tire wet and all stuff that's never been used since I've been here. Well, I've been here my whole life, but when I moved back in to buy the house, so I got rid of a bunch of it. There's some stuff that needs to go. I'm gonna go through all this, and this wall will change for RC, maybe seating, just more room down here. But it opened up, and then I pushed out some of the stuff over here, and we're talking about redoing the floor because it is decent size. I saw my spray paint projects and things I've done through the last couple years. I have no idea. But we're able to do figure eights through the table, which is a lot bigger than it looks on camera. And then you can come in here. I got to move this stuff, which has been here forever. And we could go all the way down there if we need to make a small enough but big enough track to have fun down here. We've done, I think it was 2 cars. Almost, no, we did 3, I think, at one time. But there's enough room. It's technical, it's small, but it's teaching us and we're learning things. So we're going to keep on moving with that. And I'm going to get back to it. So any questions, comments, I would love to hear. I'm here to learn as well and then continue to grow. So thank you for your time. There's 17 minutes of your life.